Hello, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. It's just wonderful to have you along for the ride. So much to get into today for it being a bye week. First and foremost, Vic Fangio, I get the sense, is on our side. And I know a lot of people don't like Vic Fangio right now, but my point after the last game was I don't think Vic Fangio is blameless in anything that happened with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good Lord. But what he did allude to, and I appreciate this a lot about Vic Fangio and his style of press conference, where he doesn't necessarily throw someone under the bus, but he acknowledges the mistake. And I know there's a very fine, skinny, very, very thin line going through that, but separates one from the other. But I do think he walks that line. For instance, and I'll let you hear it. He gets asked about Jalen Carter on pace to play 300 more snaps than he played last year. That's for Jalen Carter, even. That's an alarming rate. For Fletcher Cox not being here, that's an alarming rate. 300 more snaps. Tim McManus of ESPN asked a question yesterday, and he's like, is that sustainable? And we asked the same question about Saquon Barkley and whether or not he can carry this workload throughout the entire season, if that's sustainable. Same thing when it comes to snap counts for a defensive lineman or a defensive tackle in this case. What do you is that sustainable? What do you do with that? How do you work that? And Vic Fangio's like, other guys haven't had a problem with it. like he puts it on the player. It's not on Vic Fangio. He puts it on Jalen Carter. Other people do this, Jalen. You should not have a problem with this. You can't just go out there against the New Orleans Saints and dominate and be like, all right, next week, I'm going to take the week off when I go out there and play. I'm not asking too much of a young player. Maybe if this was Fletcher Cox out there, I'd be like, yeah, it's a little too much for him. But not you, second-year player. Not you, bud. So I love that. Also, the tackling. To get back to my original point. My takeaway from the game wasn't necessarily being angry at Vic Fangio as much as it was being angry at players. Avonte Maddox should tackle. He should tackle. Back on the 1 yard line. He should be able to stop the quarterback. That's not it's Baker Mayfield, for crying out loud. He's not exactly known for speed, quickness, and agility. Make that stop. The Kobe Dean, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, make the stop. And what I really appreciate about Vic Fangio is that he says, yeah, if we tackle, we're better. A lot of their big plays started with a missed tackle. And it wasn't even anything crazy, like it was wide open field. It was right there to make the stop, and you left your feet. The one that keeps... oh, my goodness gracious, going on and on in my mind is Avonte Maddox in the flat. Was that Otten? I think I made it. But it was time and time again. And by Vic Fangio's count, 15 missed tackles. I made the analogy yesterday that, if Jalen Hurts is dropping back to pass and he hits A.J. Brown in stride and he drops it, and then it happens 15 times in a game, I'm not going to be mad at Jalen Hurts and a low completion percentage when the receiving percentage, catch percentage, I guess, target to reception ratio is way off. I'm not going to be mad at Jalen Hurts for that, just like I'm not going to be as mad at Vic Fangio when his defense misses 15 tackles. Now, the grand scheme of things there that people can look at as well, he should be coaching it better. Players don't want it coached better. That's why the CBA is what it is. They don't want to do this. They don't want to tackle their teammates. Teammates don't want to get tackled by their teammates. So this is, unfortunately, one of the things that if you don't do it right from the start, you're not going to be good at it. Pretty much for the whole year. I'd love to see it continue. And look, we looked at last year. We've talked about a couple of things that we didn't want to see carried over from last year, what really caused a lot of the struggles from last year. Jalen Hurts' turnovers being one of them. Bad play calling might be another one. Those are the two ones that really jump out as far as the overall grand scheme of things in terms of the offense. But when it comes to the defense, missed tackles was a huge thing. And that was an awful part of last year, was watching guys, especially against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, diving at guys' legs and just missing. Not wrapping up, either going for the big hit or being faked out of their pads like it was just too easy. And those problems, unfortunately, have carried over into this season. So we'll get into that conversation when it comes to Vic Fangio, what he had to say about it yesterday, because I do think he had some good things to say about it. We'll get into Kellen Moore. According to Kellen Moore, he goes the complete opposite way of Vic Fangio. When it comes to Jalen Hurts, need to secure the ball. You need to secure the ball. You can't turn the ball over, but how's he going? Does he need to work on going through his progressions? No. Does he need to work on trusting receivers that aren't A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? No. Okay. Thanks for showing up. I guess we're all good then. The Eagles, look, for all the problems that we could talk about when it comes to tackling and it comes to turnovers, whatever, right now, Jalen Hurts has the ability coming out of this bye week, assuming you have Devontae Smith back, assuming you have A.J. Brown back. Jalen Hurts has that ability to cover up a lot of the mistakes that the Eagles have been making on both sides of the football. But he needs to correct the biggest mistake. The biggest flaw, as far as I'm concerned, is turnovers. You could be the greatest coach ever, and if your quarterback doesn't stop giving the football away, in especially insanely easy times for him to not give the ball away. First down, I keep on saying, I saw Jeff McClain is the first writer I actually saw touch on this, and it was last week. It was actually Monday. I'm sorry, it was Monday, where he talked about he wrote about Jalen Hurts and the turnovers on first down. And he even asked Nick Sirianni about it on Monday as well. You know, a lot of those come, what do you do to kind of live and fight another day? And I'm like, thank you, finally. Somebody else is onto this, where it's just these opportunities that it's like fourth down, it's 4th and 20 in the final second of the game, and Jalen Hurts feels like he needs to do it all. No, it's 1st and 10 in the third quarter. Live to fight the very next play. Situational football that he needs to have awareness of and be smarter in, and he's not doing that. So that's when you talk about Patrick Mahomes, and we'll get into those numbers. I have them for you. When you talk about comparisons between him and Patrick Mahomes, okay, so let's do this. Let's play this one. That's a little experiment. If you want to talk about them being the same player, let's put them both in a 2-minute drill. Who do you got more confidence in? Or let's distill it even further. Who do you have more confidence in if he's your quarterback? Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts? Oh, Patrick Mahomes? Oh, good. You've watched football. You've watched these two quarterbacks play, especially in the last year and a half, it feels like now. It's extremely frustrating. And I don't hear anything from Kellen Moore that makes me feel, oh, this will be corrected. At least this is being addressed. When I listen to Vic Fangio, I go, oh, this is at least going to be addressed. This is going to be something that is going to be a talking point throughout the bye week and when they come back. But like, of all the people, whatever they say, like, this is the thing. Like, yeah, I like to read into and listen to what they say, because it absolutely gives you a window into their mindset. In a lot of occasions, I didn't really get that much from Kellen Moore, other than he needs to coach better. Vic Fangio talked about how he needs to coach better. It wasn't like he just skirted blame and pushed it all on the players. Yeah, if players aren't tackling, then he needs to make sure that he's preaching the coaching points better on tackling for professionals. On that note, I guess it's the combination of Sixers media day and the Eagles having this problem right now. I feel like when an NBA player comes into the NBA and doesn't shoot, if he comes into the league and he's not a shooter, not impossible, not never, but very rarely do I feel like that player ever learns how to shoot. And I know everyone's thinking of Ben Simmons. You might even go back a little further and think of Evan Turner. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the same thing about tackling. If you come into the league and you're not a tackler, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough in the NFL CBA and what's allowed in practice and training camp and all. It's going to be tough to become a better tackler. And I love when Seth Joyner on pre and post talks about the donut. When he talks about the donut. Oh, you roll that donut out and then you tackle it. All right, let's do it. That's going to make you better? That tackling dummy, that donut, that rolling donut, that right there that's Mike Evans? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Same thing, right? Same thing. The other thing that I don't like about that donut is that I think more guys are diving at it, and that might be teaching some bad habits. You know what I mean? It might be teaching some bad habits. So Kellen Moore, Vic Fangio, Jalen Hurts overall. Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes. Oh, I don't want to do that. People are making me do that. Somebody mentioned it in the chat yesterday. And I looked at it and I went, what? They're comparing the two because of statistics? Let me say my favorite phrase one more time. My own phrase. Numbers never lie, but they sure as hell deceive. All right. And then watching the MLB playoffs yesterday, I think it was Fernando Tatis's home run that made me go, oh, they're missing out on a party. The Phillies are missing out on a party. The analogy that went through my brain yesterday, watching the Mets and the Brewers slug it out, the Brewers fall to the Mets yesterday. Watching the Braves fall to the Padres and Fernando Tatis doing what he did in his game yesterday. I still want the Phillies to have a break. Like, if you're asking me, would I rather them have the break? Yes. When it comes to the injuries and wear and tear that a lot of these guys have gone through this season, and the two guys I think about the most are Bryce Harper and Alec Boehm, just from the position player standpoint. Also, JT Realmuto, for as many games as he's caught, for as banged up as he's been. Like, these are the guys that I think about that are like, all right, let's get these guys a break and get it back and get them fresh. Rest versus rust. I know they need rest. So let's see what they do. And hey, look, they've haven't had the rest, and they weren't rusty, and then they still didn't win the World Series. So yeah, there's a lot to look at here. I saw Ben Verlander, now MLB analyst Ben Verlander, pick the Phillies to win it. I saw MLB.com pick the Phillies to win it all. So that makes me feel pretty good. But I mean, they're still got to go out there and play, obviously. And I'm watching these games yesterday, and first off, other than just enjoying baseball, I'm watching these games yesterday, and I'm feeling like the Phillies are still at the starters line, and everybody else has that, 10-yard, 15-yard head start. It's kind of how it feels right now when it comes to momentum. And I know that you could easily say, well, it's Citizens Bank Park. You think Petco's going to be rocking, and Citizens Bank Park is not going to be rocking? No, CBP is going to be rocking. CBP was rocking ahead of Game 7 of the NLCS last year against the Diamondbacks, and they lost. I couldn't help think that the Phillies are looking across the street at a party that's going on, and they're just sitting there waiting to get in there. And I'm hoping that fuels them, and that's some motivation. They got a inter-squad scrimmage game today. Simulation. They'll be living in a simulation today. Dave Dombrowski addressed the media yesterday, talked about how this team's going to have that chip on their shoulder, how this team, what makes this team different than previous years. The last 2 years, for example, this is a deeper team, according to Dave Dombrowski from a couple years ago. I don't feel like that as far as the pitching staff goes. All in all, when it started to creep in with this Phillies team, and again, this might be teed up by thinking Sixers again, with a lot being said at media day and all that stuff. But I feel similarly that I feel when it comes to the Sixers. Similarly, not exactly the same, but similar. Like, I don't, like, as far as the Sixers stuff, like, yeah, I'll listen, and okay, fine, but go there and win. Just go and win. We've had enough teases. We've been teased and dragged along enough. You've jerked our chain too many times. I feel similarly with the Sixers as I do with the Phillies at this point. Don't get me wrong. I have a better feeling about the Phillies winning the championship than I do the Sixers, but I need to see the Phillies go out there and just hit consistently. I need to see the Phillies go out there with their pitching staff. I need to see Zach Wheeler carry everything he did in the regular season to the postseason. I need to see Aaron Nola do the same thing, especially at the end of the year. I need to see Christopher Sanchez be that guy who's going to be the lefty starter in this rotation. And also, again, have the hitting. Make things a little bit easier for the pitching staff. And then I have a game. You watched the game yesterday with the Orioles. The Orioles, they lose 1-0. Like, great. That makes me feel like a lot of Phillies games right now. The Phillies are going to have to win a lot of games 1-0. By the way, I think that was the first time the Kansas City Royals won on the road to open up a playoff series. That's pretty spectacular. But yeah, I got the feeling yesterday that the Phillies are looking across the street and being like, that looks like a fun party. I can't wait to go. I want to go. And hopefully they get there and they just roll a beer pong or something. I don't know. But that's where I'm at with the Phils right now. And I just really can't wait for them to get started, which, by the way, Saturday, they're going to get started. All 4:08 start. Games 1 and 2 will be 4:08 start times at Citizens Bank Park. So I look forward to that Saturday and Sunday. Very much look forward to that. So, yeah. Let's get into it all. Oh, and I did listen to Darius Slay when it came to him going to the Micah Parsons podcast. Let me say this. There's a lot of guys that I watch. Paul George is a guy that I referenced a while ago. Obviously, the Kelsey brothers. There's a lot of guys that I listen to, players that have their podcasts and stuff, and I'm like, man, they're just really good. Like Paul George really impressed me with how he handled his podcast, his delivery, his cadence, his mic presence. I'm listening to him, I'm like, wow, this guy is really good. This is really good, yeah. And then I listen, every once in a while to Micah Parsons when he says something dumb about the Eagles, and I'm like, I'll listen to all these other guys and be like, this guy should totally have a podcast. This is a great podcast. This guy does a great job. I can totally see why he'd do this. And then I listen to Micah Parsons, and I'm like, this guy should not have a podcast. This guy should not be talking. What is going on here? Is this the right thing to do? And then Darius Slay, goes on the Micah Parsons podcast, and he's laughing. Here's the thing. If I read the transcript of what Darius Slay said about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I'm like, okay. All he's doing is highlighting that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson knows that he needs to play better. That's all he's doing. He's saying, hey, look, he knows that if he doesn't go out there and perform, that he's going to hear it. That's nothing wrong with that. What bothered me more so was the way it was delivered. It wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. Michael Parsons is like, he took it personal. I didn't mean for it to come off personal. I was like, dude, you took a shot at him. What do you mean you didn't mean it to come off personal? And it was over social media. It wasn't like you texted him individually. And then Darius Slay's on there, and he's like, oh, yeah, he knows. You can't give up a touchdown. He knows he got to play. And he's like laughing. They're both laughing. And if I'm Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I'm like, is this funny? You think this is funny? How do you think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to address this with Darius Slay? Because I don't think that this is something that GJ is going to be like, oh, pshaw. No big deal. Like, this is a problem. It wasn't what he said necessarily. It was how it was delivered. If Darius Slay was just like, yeah, hey, look, we all know, and CJ, GJ, CD Deuce, he knows, we all know that if you don't play well, you're going to hear it. Simple as that. Then I don't think it's as big a deal. But when you're laughing, ooh, you're having fun at my expense now? A lot of players can look at what fans say, like CJ, GJ, CD Deuce, looked at what a lot of fans apparently were saying about him and called us all MFers on his way out the door while he was gaming, okay, before he signed with Detroit. I think it was before he signed with Detroit. No, it was after he signed with Detroit. And we're fans, but a lot of players can look and be like, oh, that's the fans. The fans are going to be unruly. Fans are going to be angry. All right. But when it's somebody in the locker room with you, I could imagine this is not going to be a positive thing. I can imagine this is not going to be a positive thing at all. And I love what my man Trey Thomas had to say. Like, could you imagine Bobby Taylor, Troy Vincent, Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown, even Al Harris? Because Trey Thomas quoted the video of Micah Parsons talking and Darius Slay talking about CD Deuce. And he said, could you imagine those guys talking about Brian Dawkins' performance? And I love that he said on my MySpace on their MySpace live page. Did MySpace? I never had a MySpace. Did MySpace have a live page? Could you go live on MySpace? I don't think so. I know you could post pictures. But I was never a MySpace guy. I never had MySpace. And I do appreciate every one of the people that shout out that guy. What was it, Tom from MySpace? That just like cashed his check and said, deuces, I'm out of here. I respect that guy. and never shared our information. Is that what it says? I think it's what it says. But yeah, listening to all that yesterday, I just went, this is pretty wild. Wild to have the comparison between Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts right now. And it's absolutely bonkers banana sandwich to listen to Darius Slay laughing while talking about another teammate's performance. Yet this is the world we live in, folks. This is the world we live in. So let's get into it. Let's start it off with a man who has become, I don't know, a repeating character of the Farzi Show, Vic Fangio. Ugh. Vic Fangio sitting down to tell his team how to tackle. Ugh. Okay. Where should we start? Well, let's start at the beginning. Reuben Frank led up the press conference yesterday. I got 3 Vic Fangio cuts I want to focus on here, and then we'll talk about. I'm not going to play anything from Kellen Moore. I got nothing out of it. So here's Vic Fangio yesterday. He was asked by Reuben Frank of NBC Sports Philadelphia, hey, what bothered you the most about the way that game started? For those that forgot by now, it was 24-0 before the offense got a first down. Quick passes from Baker Mayfield, guys missing tackles, bad coverage, blah, 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 blah. Vic Fangio and all that.
Okay, who's leading off?
What bothered you the most from, I guess, the first quarter and a half Sunday?
Yeah, they came out throwing, obviously, and throwing quick, and we weren't close enough. We played a lot more man in those first 3 series than we usually do, or we were in some tight matchup zones, and we just didn't play it good enough. Their pass offense was better than our pass defense.
Vic, I'm curious as far as how the defense can look so good one week against New Orleans and then come out to Tampa and not look the same. Why is that, you think?
Well, it's a good question. They came out throwing real fast, real quick, and we weren't tight enough. And we fell behind the chains because of that. And it just kind of snowballed. We never couldn't make the play to get them the 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10. And it just never happened.
Brady suggested on the
Who did?
Tom Brady on the telecast that you're not comfortable playing press coverage right now. Is there any validity to that?
No. Our guys, particularly the corners, have the ability to press based on formation. If they're stacking receivers and stuff, it's hard to press then. But on normal splits, they have the ability to press in almost all our calls.
That last part, I'm sure, I don't know if Seth Joyner has seen that yet, but that's something that I'm sending him. I need to know that he sees that before we do our next pre- and post-game show, because I'm telling you right now, the way it goes in our green room while we're watching these games, I'll take you inside the huddle here, okay? The way it happens is Darius Slay is well off the line of scrimmage, playing, 7 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, and never up at the line. Never up at the line. And Seth, the man dresses like $1 million, okay? Beautiful suits, okay? Beautiful suits. And he'll have his napkin if it's the first quarter and we're just, finishing eating. He has his napkin in his shirt so he doesn't get anything on his beautiful attire. And it will be not press coverage in a press coverage situation. Darius Slay playing off the ball. Maybe Quenyon Mitchell even playing off the ball. Corners playing off the ball in general. Vontae Maddox playing off the ball. Whatever. You get the idea. And first down. Shocking. First down on a quick toss. Gives no opportunity for a blitzing linebacker or a defensive lineman to win a battle. And boom, first down. Seth will rip the napkin from the top of his shirt, throw it down on the table, and then talk about, and he'll stand up and give me a tutorial. Like I'm going to play. Like I'm on the sidelines about to go. Like I said, I don't know why you're telling me this, but, and then he'll be like, all right, you need to get up there. You need to jam him into the line of scrimmage. Jam him into the line of scrimmage. And then we talk about whether or not, it's Fangio's defense or if it's the individual player. Thought that was very interesting that Fangio is just flat out telling us that it's the individual player. It's up to them based on formation, which of course it is. But the amount of times we see guys playing off the line of scrimmage. Baker Mayfield, 1-2, gone. 1-2, gone. 1-2, gone. Just getting rid of the ball that quick. And you're not going to get in a receiver's face? No, instead you're going to give him more room. And then he can just dump it off into the flat. And then you try to come up and make a big tackle and whiff. Doesn't seem like a great formula. He did talk about the rhythm there, and that's one of the things that just drove me absolutely crazy. Here he is. This is absolutely fantastic. So speaking of those tackles, here's Vic Fangio. And I have the back and forth here. Jeff McClain of Inquirer.com asking the question about tackling. And I love the lack thereof added by Jeff. And then the lack thereof reiterated by Vic Fangio. Enjoy.
What was the issue with the tackling? Or the lack thereof?
Yeah, lack thereof. A lot of times we left our feet too early. Sometimes we didn't wrap up well enough. You know, we missed 15 tackles by our count, and that's way too many.
How do you fix tackling when you don't practice tackling?
Yeah, you emphasize it through film study, through practice drills, and better technique.
All right. Yeah, right here. All right, Nakobe. This is, see where you did hear it, where the guy was running with the ball? All right, no, pay attention. Okay. This is you trying to tackle him. All right, see how you're back there now, and he's all the way up there, up towards the end zone? That's bad. Don't do that. Avante, see how you dove at this guy? You didn't get, that's not good. Reed, you're usually really good at this. You have a kill shot on a quarterback, on a keeper, on a 4th and 1. The goal line. See how he did that there? He dove at his legs? Don't do that. Don't dive at his legs. Wrap him up, force him back. You're going to win that battle against Baker Mayfield. Got it, coach. Thanks, coach. Now get out there and chase this rolling donut. This is how we're going to do it. This is how you win championships. Catch the donut, Rock. Catch the donut, Rock. I feel like a Kentucky Fried Idiot. I don't feel good about this. Do you get a sense that I don't feel good about this? Because I'm going to tell you right out of the gate so you don't have to read it between the lines or anything. I don't feel good about this. This is terrible. This is god-awful. I don't see tackling issues just all of a sudden getting solved. And if you're not going to, I hope the Eagles are ready to win 45-40 every week. Like that's what it feels like if you don't correct tackling issues. But that's where we're at. Tackling. Other things that jumped out to me from the Vic Fangio press conference were Jalen Carter. Let's hear from him on Jalen Carter. And how close this team is to playing the way Vic Fangio wants them to play. How close are they? Do you feel like they could play like that soon? He's like, yeah, hopefully soon. I get the sense that Vic Fangio is just, if they tackle, Vic Fangio looks smart. Just like if anything, Jalen Hurts throws touchdown passes every time he drops back. Kellen Moore looks like a genius. Bryce Harper hits home runs every time he's up. Rob Thompson's brilliant. Whatever. Joel Embiid stays healthy for an entire year. The Sixers are champion. Like just like all this stuff. All the ifs, right? But good God, listening to Vic Fangio talk about this defense, I get the sense that he's as fed up with them as we are. The only problem is he's in-house. We're just watching it from, no pun intended, bird's eye view. Here he is talking about Jalen Carter's snaps. Now, again, he's on pace for over 300 snaps more than last season. And tell me the vibe you get from this. The vibe I get from Vic Fangio is he's on pace for 300 snaps more. WTF. Okay? NBD. Deal with it. There it is.
I don't know. It's an individual thing. You know, I'm used to in a lot of places where defensive linemen can play that much. To me, it's an individual thing. And it's also how the reps are falling in a game, you know. In some of the games, the New Orleans game, we had a fair amount of 3-and-outs or 5-play drives. You know, that won the case the other day, obviously, and then the heat factored in. So rather than it being a hard number, circumstances do affect it. But I do think guys are capable of playing.
That right there is it's a not so subtle way of telling your young player, get with it. I've been coaching in the NFL for 20 years. I've been coaching longer than you've been alive. I coached the Philadelphia and Baltimore Stars and got a basket of wings over at the Palladium before you were even a thought. I've been around a long time, and guys I coach don't have a problem with this. If you have a problem with this, then you're not going to reach your full potential. And you'll have flashes of being great without the norm of being great. That's what he's telling Jalen Carter. And quite frankly, I love it. Football, I think, is a sport where you could get away with a lot more that's said about players as opposed to any other sport. Like, I think football players, don't get me wrong, I know everyone wants to paint these people as prima donnas in every single aspect, but football players have been talked a lot of you-know-what to throughout their careers. And Vic Fangio has been around the block and talked to a lot of different players. He's had success with a lot of different players. Jalen Carter is not going to be an exception in his mind. He's going to get the best out of Jalen Carter. And I think I played it for you guys last week. Jalen Carter got asked about, Vic Fangio and what he had said to him in the week after he played so well against the Saints. And he said that he came into the locker room and Vic Fangio was there, or he came into the building, I should say. And Vic Fangio was there, and he walked by Vic Fangio, and Vic Fangio was like, "What? No good morning?" And Jalen Carter was like, "Oh, sorry, coach. Yeah, hey, good morning." He's like, "Yeah, okay." Like, just keeping him on his toes like that. Now, some might think that's overbearing, but it seems like these players at least respect it. I just hope that they show their proper respect through playing better, getting in better shape, conditioning better in the offseason, being focused throughout their battles. And look, one thing that hasn't been pointed out yet, I haven't heard it really by many people, but as far as Jalen Carter not playing at a high level or Jordan Davis not getting great results, I mean, they didn't have a lot of opportunities, unfortunately, because that ball, again, from Baker Mayfield was gone. It's like people want to rip Vic Fangio, fine, but if the players that he put in position to make a play just made the play. And I'm not talking about intercepting the football. I'm not talking about jarring the ball loose, picking it up, and returning it for a touchdown. I'm not talking about huge plays here. I'm talking about tackling. Tackling when you're there to make the tackle. You hear it all the time from every single coach. It wasn't just Andy Reid. It's not just Nick Sirianni. It's not just Doug Peterson. It's every coach. Our job is to put players in a better position to make plays. Guys were in a position to make plays. And again, not huge game-changing plays, but basic, fundamental plays. Tackling. They do that. Yeah, Vic Fangio looks a lot better. The Eagles defense as a whole looks a lot better. But you can't talk about, in one sentence, Baker Mayfield was getting the ball ridiculously quick. And then also say, why aren't they getting home? Why isn't Jalen Carter disrupting things more? Why isn't Jordan Davis disrupting things more? There was a point in Sunday's game where Jordan Davis broke through the line of scrimmage, got in the face of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield started rolling to his right, as any smart human would, with Jordan Davis right in their face. And Jordan Davis just went, oh. And you saw him pull up. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? Stop playing. So much to correct. I actually am so grateful that the bye week is happening at this time because I couldn't go through another couple weeks of inconsistency and, quite frankly, poor play. Linebackers, week 1, good job. Week 2, not so good. Week 3, hey, good job. Week 4, terrible. It's really every level of the defense. Every single level of the defense. And then just as a sugar on top for the offensive side of things here, these numbers come out 2 days ago. People are talking about Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes. Why? Why are we doing this? Completion percentage, both in the 68th percentile. Passing yards, 930 by Hurts, 904 by Patrick Mahomes. Total touchdowns. I hate the total touchdowns thing. I know that it's tush push and all that, but they both have 6 total touchdowns. Interceptions. Patrick Mahomes has 5. Jalen Hurts only has 4. Patrick Mahomes must suck. Quarterback rating. Now, this isn't quarter. People mess this up all the time. QB rating and passer rating are not the same thing. This is passer rating. Patrick Mahomes, 89.7 to Jalen Hurts, 85.7. So 4-point difference right there in Mahomes' favor. These numbers that you see and you hear people talking about, this is why stats a lot of times are dumb. What's to be gained there? Oh, Jalen Hurts is Patrick Mahomes, so the Eagles should be winning games. What? You've watched Patrick Mahomes, right? Even the most blind Jalen Hurts supporter, lover, whatever you want to call, needs to acknowledge that these are not the same people. Also, not referenced, Patrick Mahomes, 4-0, and every one of his games this year has been a one-score game, and they've won. One of his games was a 1-point game, as a matter of fact, against the Bengals, I believe it was. And he's won. Put the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter, I got confidence he's going to win the game. And I told you guys this yesterday, and to reiterate this, I now watch, unfortunately, I watch Jalen Hurts, and I wait for the turnover. Just like I did in the third quarter of this game here against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I waited for the turn. Oh, everything's going the Eagles' way. They're getting things going here. When's the turnover? Oh, there it is. There's the turnover. In a tight pocket, he winds up and, shockingly, the ball gets knocked out of his hands. I've talked about Josh Allen that way. I've talked about, go back. Tony Romo, Dak Prescott. A lot of these quarterbacks, I just sit back, Phillip Rivers, I just sit back and I go, the interception's coming. The turnover is coming soon. They're going to give the Eagles an opportunity to ice this. And now I watch our quarterback. I watch Jalen Hurts, and I go, when's the turnover happening? I've referenced it before, but I look at the way the Eagles started to come back in that second, or even right before the second half. They get the touchdown. They're making a 24-7 game. They go into halftime. They come out of halftime, get the huge run by Saquon Barkley. Then they get the tush-push touchdown, 24-14. Then they give up the touchdown and then, block the point after. So momentum swings right back to the Eagles. And then they can't score in the red zone because of a turnover when they had the ball at the 19-yard line, and Jalen Hurts gives it back. That can't keep happening. There's no offsetting of penalties, there's no offsetting of turnovers. If you're giving the ball away and you're not taking it away, other than Reed Blankenship's 2 interceptions, even if you get the ball back, even if Jalen Hurts throws an interception at the 19-yard line, or let's say in this case he fumbled at the 19. Let's say he fumbles at the 19-yard line, and then the Eagles intercept it upfield. You've still hurt your team. If they intercept it on the next possession, you still hurt your team because you were in striking distance. And now you got the ball at the 50 again, let's just say in this scenario. At least you got it back. The interception didn't hurt him. Yeah, it did. Kills all momentum, kills time when you're trying to come back. Jalen Hurts they score in that situation. You're like, oh, boy. Oh, maybe they do this. Maybe they can come back. It's a one-score game now. After 24-0 before your first down, it's a one-score game. But unfortunately, what we're talking about is Jalen Hurts turning the football over again. But when you go through Kellen Moore and what he had to say during his press conference yesterday, turnovers. Oh, yeah, we got to tell him you got to secure the ball. Okay, well, that doesn't seem to be working. I think everyone's been telling him to secure the ball, and it hasn't happened. How about progressions? Does he need to go through his progressions faster? No. Okay. Does he need to trust receivers that aren't named A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? No. Oh, okay. So we're fine here. We're doing fine? We're fine. Okay, we're fine. Not a good feeling right now. Not a good feeling. As a matter of fact, my feeling can best be summed up with, thank you very much, Vic Fangio. So that's what we got going on with your Philadelphia Eagles. They come back and they play the Browns at 1 o'clock a week from Sunday. Yeah, we're all having a good time. You having a good time? I'm having a blast. Michael Clay addressed the media yesterday as all coordinators spoke, including special teams coordinator Michael Clay, took responsibility for Isaiah Rodgers not knowing the rules. So there's that. And, one last thing on the defense. Cooper DeJean could be taking over that slot corner role for Avonte Maddox in the near future. I'm up for anything. I'm up for anything. A change, whatever the case might be. Because if Cooper DeJean is anything close to Quenyon Mitchell, I am excited for Cooper DeJean to get going, to actually play corner, whether that's slot or that's outside, whether that's nickel or that's outside. I'm up for a change. And if he's anything close to Quenyon Mitchell, then I'm excited. Because one thing with Quenyon Mitchell, because of the bad stuff that's gone on this year, Quenyon Mitchell is a godsend. Howie Roseman might have crushed this pick. Absolutely crushed it. Look, there's a lot of times you can look at in the preseason and even in the regular season. Oh, well, he almost gave up that touchdown. He was beat by a step, but either it's a dropped pass or a no call and a pass interference, or he pinned the receiver's hand with his inside arm. Kind of difficult to see that as an official. He just plays with a great veteran presence about him. You watch him play, and you don't get the sense that you're watching a guy play in his first 4 games as an NFL player. You get the sense that the guy's been around. And the speed's there, the quickness is there, the physicality is certainly there. For the smarts to be there already, that is not supposed to happen right away. But that's why he's a first-round pick. And he looks like an absolute steal in the early goings. For a guy that hasn't really had success in drafting corners, Howie might have nailed it with Quenyon Mitchell, and all signs point to he's nailed it with Quenyon Mitchell. If Cooper DeJean is that guy, if he's a lash behind Quenyon Mitchell, if he can play that nickel spot with some physicality and sure tackling, that'll be a welcome sight. So let's get that man ready to play some football as soon as humanly possible. I loved hearing from Vic Fangio talking about how Cooper DeJean's coming along and getting closer and closer and be closer to take over that nickel spot. Would love to see that. Fingers crossed for that. Also, Bryce Huff continues to improve. For those that were still worrying and still concerned about what could be happening with Bryce Huff, he's still improving, folks. He's still improving. Did you guys see that rule? I didn't even know about it. You can't reacquire a player through trade for 2 years. I know that was out there. So when people talk about Hassan Reddick, they talk about a 2-year waiting period. What if he gets cut? What if the Eagles make another trade? What if they tell Howie Roseman and Joe Douglas work out a deal? Because you guys cut him, and we'll give you a lopsided trade for something totally different. It's unrelated. He's cut. And then we get a chance to get him back. Ugh. It was worth it one more time. Phillies get underway Saturday. I can't wait. I can't wait for the buzz that jumps through the TV in postseason baseball. I was experiencing it through Padres fans yesterday. I was experiencing it through Brewers fans yesterday. And then I wasn't, because then the Mets came back. I can't wait for that to be CBP. I don't know if there's a site in sports that I love more that involves the fans, more so than fans in playoff baseball. They're in on everything. And the buzz that comes through that TV or is in the stadium for playoff baseball, there is something special about it. And I feel like, I said the Phillies must feel like they're looking at a party right now, and they're like, okay, when can we get in there? I feel the same way. When is this going to be our thing? When are we going to be invited to the party? And the answer is 4:08 on Saturday. I do have a little boost of confidence that the MLB experts at MLB.com have picked the Phillies to win the World Series. Friend of the show, Ben Verlander, he picked the Phillies to win it all. As far as Dave Dombrowski goes with depth, I think about the depth pieces on this team. Edmundo Sosa, coming off the bench, for instance, throughout the year has been fantastic for this Phillies team. The pieces that they have gotten to come off the bench and help them win games this year has been fantastic. I think the depth is a good point to be made. But ultimately, this Phillies postseason and the success is going to come down to really the way they're built. And they're built to mash. If they don't mash, they don't win. I don't see the Phillies winning a lot of 2-1 games, 3-2 games, stuff like that. I see them, they have to win games with the long ball. They got to get on base. I know you can almost say that for every team, but when you've seen a team like the Phillies over the last 2 years just go completely cold, Nick Castellanos going from a great NLDS to a nothing NLCS, that kind of hurts. I've referenced it many times before, but any fan base that has seen their team hit 5 home runs in a World Series game and then in the very next game get no hit, I can understand why you'd be shell-shocked, why you'd be a little scared about what the Phillies have done in recent memory. A city that has also looked at the bullpen and be like, oh, maybe they got something here, Craig Kimbrell. And a manager that was horrible in the NLDS last year. Like, don't get me wrong, they got a hit and they win. Okay, they hit, they win. But Rob Thompson continuing to trust Craig Kimbrell? I don't think so. Rob Thompson pulling Christopher Sanchez as early as he did against the Diamondbacks? I don't think so. Because you know what that did? That expedited the process of bringing in Craig Kimbrell. So I understand why some people might have some concerns about the Phillies before the postseason starts for them. And rightfully so. Look, there are 500 teams since the All-Star break, for crying out loud. I get why people would be a little shell-shocked, a little tentative, a little scared about what could happen here. But when that first pitch is thrown by Zach Wheeler, I'm still hoping it's the Brewers. Okay, if what's better, Brewers or Mets? I would love nothing more than the Phillies to face the Mets in the NLDS and beat the crap out of them. Just take their heart and soul and put Grimace to bed. Okay, I would love nothing more than that. However, the Mets are a really good baseball team right now. And they're not just playing with confidence against the Brewers. They're not just playing with confidence as they came back from London, unlike the Phillies. They're playing with confidence because they took 3 out of 4 against the Phillies right before the postseason. And I know they won't see Taijuan Walker this time around, but still, they faced Zach Wheeler. They found a way to beat Zach Wheeler. So, yeah, that Mets team is going to be riding pretty high when it comes to confidence. So, I think they have better odds to beat the Brewers, Phillies. But what would be the best case scenario is that they just get the Mets and destroy them, which I don't see happening. That's what I'm rooting for, but I don't see it happening. I'm rooting for the Phillies to advance. And the team that gives them the best chance to advance is the Milwaukee Brewers. So, Reese, if you could hit another grand slam against the Mets sometime soon, that'd be great. He actually made a really nice play at first base yesterday, but he got beat to the – it was on the toss, I think? Yeah, it was on the toss. But Reese actually made a really nice diving stop at first base. Ended up being an infield RBI single, though. So that's that. Hey, let me tell you about the great people at the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Create an account. Use promo code Farzy. Hey, if you want to go to the Phillies playoff games, download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy. Get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Don't forget to toggle the Game Time Picks feature. You know what that does? That filters out all the fluff, so you just cut right to the chase. You see the best tickets at the best prices on the Game Time app. Don't forget about the all-in pricing feature as well on the Game Time app. You know what that does? I'll tell you what it does. It lets you see exactly what you're paying before you check out. So you don't get that sticker shock when you go to check out and be like, whoa, how do these $20 tickets become $30? No. Toggle the all-in pricing feature, and you see exactly what you're paying before you check out. You can also view your seat before you buy it, so you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. So once again, download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and you get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Game time. What time is it? Game time. Terms apply. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. How about our friends at Sky Motorcars? SkyMotorcars.com. Check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how wonderful people are doing on this fine Wednesday morning. OG Boss Pelly? How you doing? Just wish I would see Jalen not stare down his first target and go through progressions. There was one thing I saw on his interception against the Saints that was wild to me. If you remember, so a lot of people talked about the route that Devontae Smith ran, okay? My first thought was that Jalen stared down the middle of the field, and that's how Tyrann Mathieu knew to jump the route. I give credit to Jalen on that particular play. He was looking left, and then he came back and went to the middle of the field. So he didn't stare down his receiver in that case. I'll put it to you like this. The staring down of the receiver, I hope that that's something that he's not doing as much of. I still notice him doing it as you do. I just don't notice it as much. My bigger thing, it's not even progressions as much. It's not staring down and telegraphing. It's overall decision-making. Overall decision-making is killing this team. Killing Jalen Hurts as well. Sean Gillespie, hello. Good morning. James Alexander, good morning, Farzy. I'm ready for Red October. With this bye week, we should figure something out. I hope so. IBH, hello. Eagles fan, good morning. Tate Jeffries, hello. Good morning, Farzy. Would be nice to get an earlier waiting room. Oh, for the show. Yeah, I agree. I had a little internet issue and had to restart some things. But yeah, I'll get cracking on that one. Thank you, Tate. Eric, hello. Is Nick fired yet? No, unfortunately. Sean Gillespie. Whoever's been teaching the Eagles tackling the past couple of years needs to be fired. I think they fired everybody they could. Farzy, good morning, my guy. Is that supposed to be? Who typed a question mark in the teleprompter? Can we call up Tom Brady? That's funny. Eagles had the entire offseason to figure it out, says Sean Gillespie. Someone needs to be gone. I concur. And this is, we got into this yesterday. So hold on a second, because I referenced the Olivia Reiner question of last year, which was, hey, for weeks now, you guys have been talking about how you're going to correct it, and you're going to correct these mistakes, and these mistakes are correctable, so we're going to correct the mistakes that are correctable, and they're still not corrected. And then you went through the offseason, and you came out the following year, and it's like, these mistakes we're making, they're correctable, so they're correctable, we're going to correct the mistakes. It's like, well, they're not corrected, and it's been a full offseason. It's like, we'll correct them. When are you going to correct them? Well, he'll tell you later when we're going to correct them. You're not going to correct them. No, we're not going to correct them. John Kilrain, hello. QB, good morning. Oh, good morning, sunshine. I like a good morning, sunshine. Good morning, sunshine. Sean Gillespie, Jalen needs to study Brady and Mahomes on spreading the ball and ball security. Can anyone on the Birds say something to him? I would hope so for a guy that supposedly likes to be coached hard. Sean Gillespie, tackling a donut. Just unbelievable. Wisniewski would take, Eric Wisniewski would take Mahomes over Jalen Hurts. So would I. Jeff, hey, Jeff, what's happening, man? Do you fear the Mets? They looked good, real good in game one. Are the Mets the hottest team in baseball? Yikes. Certainly feels like it. Sean Kilrain, Sully has the Yankees and Phillies 09 rematch. I have the Phillies versus Guardians. Ooh, that would be a house divided with my in-law Cleveland fans. Sean Kilrain, Seth Joyner said it best. How the hell do you do great tackling by hitting an orange donut? I taught it better in Pop Warner, Farzy. It's amazing. Like at some point when you're rolling a donut out of practice, don't you look around and be like, okay, maybe we've gone too far with the no tackling. I think you're saying this in the Patches O'Houlihan vein, Sean Gillespie. If you could tackle a donut, you could tackle a man. NFL's players need to be taught technique in week 4. Yeah, how about that? NFL players needing to be taught tackling. Thank you, Clairvoy. Ooh, Trotter Jr. I want to see it. Joe, whoever is responsible in this organization who insists on using a Fangio scheme should be fired. April. Hello, April. Good morning. QB, I wait for the turnover and for us to abandon the run when it's working. Yeah. Only trade worth doing for the Eagles is Shane Steichen. Kind of feels like that. Sean Cody, let's go Red October here. I need Fighting Phils. Let's go. Start smashing bombs. I hope so. Jackson Gosman, what's going on? Whoa, great profile pick. One thing I witnessed about his receiver on Sunday is that none of them get separation. Dotson can't get free to save his life. And the Eagles traded for him. Here we are. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. I am going out to lunch today with my dad and my dad's uncle, who I affectionately refer to as Uncle Frank, because, you know, he is. He is 102 years old, Uncle Frank. And he's one of my favorite people on the planet, and I haven't seen him in a long time, and I'm so excited to see him. Yeah, that's what I'll be doing today. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel for all your Eagles pre- and post-game needs. And make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, where yours truly will be bringing you your Phillies postcasts. That's right, 30-minute instant reaction after every Phillies postseason game. We've been doing it throughout the entire year, so make sure you like and subscribe on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel as well. I'll be tweeting out the link right before those shows also. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. Have a wonderful rest of your day. There we go. And Steve says, hey. Hey, Steve. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Be back with you guys tomorrow. See you then. Bye.